Welcome to The Business Behind Your Business, the podcast where we delve into the financial strategies and insights that drive success for small and medium-sized business owners. I'm your host, Paul Sweeney, and in each episode we bring you expert guests who share practical advice, real-world experiences, and actionable tips to empower you on your business journey. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, get ready to uncover the secrets to success and gain valuable insights into the business behind your business. So welcome back to the Business Behind Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Paul Sweeney. And it's very hard these days to go anywhere and not see somebody on stage, somebody on a YouTube video, somebody speaking and presenting and representing their business. And often you will be sitting in the audience or watching and thinking, they are really good. They know their stuff. They are the expert. And then a lot of times I'm sitting there thinking and I'm going, when I actually listen to the content, I go, I could do that. But what's stopping me? And why is it the case that we're not engaging with this? We're seeing it so much, but is there really a barrier from you becoming the expert, the thought leader, the guy out there or the girl out there on the TED Talk, on stage, presenting and being the expert in your business, in your industry? Well, we're fortunate today because we have Carmen Sederino, and she's going to unlock the secret weapon, or she is the secret weapon to help you unlock how you can become that electrifying speaker, engaging talker, how you can be helped to be that person delivering those keynote messages that people look to and say, they know their stuff. So we're delighted. I'm delighted to have Carmen here. She's the founder of Illuminated Story. She's been helping business owners, athletes, people get their message across, but do it in an engaging way where you, as the audience member, you're going to be sitting there going, yeah, they know their stuff and I want to hear from them. So Carmen, welcome to the Business Behind Your Business podcast.
Thank you so much, Paul. What an amazing introduction. I'm very excited to be here to chat to you today.
Well, I'm excited as well because I dabble, and like a lot of people, I think, well, I could do that, but there are barriers to stopping me from doing it. And I think everybody has a message, but we're not always good at delivering it. And I think if I understand this correctly, you are the person that helps them unlock the way to deliver that message.
Yes, you are correct. I am the person that helps them unlock that message. And I think you're right. I think that business people in general are very intelligent and very smart, and most people have incredible messages that they could share with their market, with the world. But how to share it in a way that's really, truly going to resonate with the audience, not in a, oh, that was a good talk way, but in this unforgettable way where they're sharing it with all their friends, where they're, talking about it with excitement post the talk, and of course wanting to come up to you as the speaker and chat to you further about whatever it is that you're sharing. That's rare. That's not easy to create, but very possible to create, of course, if you're willing to put the work in to get there. And, most people would think, given what I do, that I was just born this way, that, an absolute extrovert and love being the center of attention, but it's not true. Believe it or not, and you might be surprised by this, Paul, but I was a very shy child. So when I was little, I definitely didn't want to be the center of attention. I still don't today, to be honest. I don't need to be the center of attention in a room. But I loved being on stage. So my mum took me to a calisthenics class. It's kind of like a dance class for your listeners that may not have heard of that before. And I was very happy to go every week, but she thought when the concert time came, there was no way I was going to get up on stage. She thought, I'm going to have to catch her side stage. This is going to not go well. But it turns out I got up there and I was waving and smiling and was a different person. So I joined a local theatre company. I was about 8 years old by this stage, and that local theatre company would travel to schools, and one of them was my school. And again, the teacher said to my parents, this is crazy. Like, Carmen is the quiet child up the back of the classroom. I cannot believe she's this big voice and big personality up on stage. So this went throughout my life because I just had this passion and love for performing arts, and I ended up getting a formal qualification. So I know a lot of your listeners are all around the world. There's a university in Melbourne called Monash University, and I did a Bachelor of Performing Arts with honours at that university. And that, of course, taught us acting for theatre on stage. It also taught us stage management and all of the things that happen behind the scenes. And at the same time, and this might interest your audience more, I had to work, had to get a job to earn money. And I ended up working with a really large corporate business within Australia. And over time, my manager, I just worked there part-time to earn money to start with. But as I finished my degree and was transitioning into the workforce, she convinced me to work for them full-time with the deal that if my agent got me acting work, I could go and do that on the side and I could go for auditions whenever she got them. So pretty amazing deal, because as you can imagine, Paul, as an actor, you have to take like waitressing work at night time to keep your days free for auditions. So this was the best of both worlds. And I ended up working for that company for over 18 years and progressed through the company into leadership roles. I ran national and international teams. And I ended up with a team of people that had to train the side of the business that I was a part of. And they also had to speak at national and state meetings and lead others who were sometimes their senior or often their senior. And because of my performing arts background, I coached them in that part of their role. And what I saw was that someone that I could see in the interview was brilliant, had, really great insights inside of them, but were fairly quiet or just didn't stand out to the business. Within 12 months of them being in this state role and having learnt the skill set of public speaking, they were seen differently by the business and often progressed into senior leadership roles.
Yeah, it's interesting that we often pigeonhole people into a particular role and we make those judgments about them. And yeah, some of the most engaging speakers I've seen, when you talk to them off stage, you get a very quiet personality, but still coming from a very knowledgeable and expert stance. But
yes.
If you met them in the opposite direction and said, "Oh, you're very quiet, you're not going to be the guy on stage delivering to an audience, telling them how great their life can be or how great this product's going to be for them." So I think we make those judgment calls. And look, I can identify with you being at the school and being put into those categories of they're not going to be able to go on stage. They're not going to be able to do this. And confession time, accountants, we're pigeonholed into being the non-engaging, the non-exciting people. There's so many jokes about how boring accountants are. So when we actually do get to present, people are expecting the dull point-by-point PowerPoint presentation. So there's a challenge there of how we can move out of that, I guess, that the box that people have put us in, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? You have an advantage as the accountant because people are expecting you to be a bit flat or boring and, the PowerPoint slides with copious amounts of information on them. You can blow them away when you do the exact opposite up on that stage. It's like the underdog in a sporting team that comes through and wins. So you can see that as an advantage.
Absolutely. So we've got this knowledge. We've got this, I guess we've got an audience, we've got a platform. Whether the audience is 5 people, 10 people or 50 people or more, hopefully more, what are some of the steps that you need to take to move from that, I guess, non-confident approach to where you can confidently stand in front of a group of people and present?
Great question. And so common. So when I started Illuminated Story about 7 years ago, and my mission was to help people light up from the inside, because as we've already been talking about, there's so many amazing people out there who have these incredible messages and experiences in their life that just can't illuminate it out to large groups of people. So in terms of steps, one of my favorite clients from quite a few years ago now, she found herself in the managing director's role of a property company, but she was an engineer by trade. So that was her background. And she got into this role because of her expertise, not because of her leadership or speaking ability. So she came to me one day and rang me and said, I need help with public speaking, because I was just in this meeting and there was about 40 people in the room. And when it was my turn to speak, I had to pretend I had a phone call and walk out because I couldn't do it. And she said, and I can never let that happen again, because it's my role to be able to do these things and to be able to speak out. And I don't know how this has happened. So we worked together over a period of time, and there's really 3 key buckets that I see that you need to work on to shift you from that anxious, feeling to I can do this, I've got it. One is mindset. So we worked on her mindset, and there's another client I can remember who kept saying to me, I just want to throw up. I just want to throw up. I just want to throw up every time I speak, to the point where one day I said to her, have you actually ever thrown up? And she's like, no. And I said, okay, so what if you start telling yourself that it's going to be okay and that you're here as an act of service, and it's not about you, it's about the people that you're sharing your expertise with, because you're brilliant and they need to hear it. And just that flick, just that mindset shift helped her on her journey to becoming happier about speaking in front of groups of people. So mindset is huge. I know it sounds a bit woo-woo maybe to some of your listeners, but it is enormous. The second 2 practical things are, it's really natural for you to feel nervous before a big talk. I still do, and I love acting. Like, before I used to get on stage in theatre, I'd feel a little bit nervous, and that was a good thing, because if I didn't have the energy I needed during that performance for the big stage. Because when you're up on stage in front of 100 or 1,000 or thousands of people, you need more energy than when you're in a boardroom with 10 people or a meeting room with 6 people. Because for you to look normal up there, you need to be bigger. Otherwise, you're going to come across a little bit flat. And vice versa, if you did what you did on the big stage in the boardroom, they're going to think you've gone a bit crazy. So, we've got to be appropriate for the setting that you're in. So the 2 key things to help you in that practical sense are, you either need to use the energy that's pumping through your body, because your body's gone into flight or fight mode. You've got adrenaline pumping around your body. And that's when the stomach drops like you're on a roller coaster, and you might sweat and your voice might become shaky, and all those great things are happening. So by using the energy, now this depends on the circumstance you're in. So if it's a big meeting that's coming up, you might want to jump into a bathroom just beforehand and do some star jumps or 30 deep squats or whatever it is to try and get some of that energy out of your body. If you're already sitting in a meeting room, for instance, and you're at tables where no one will see you clenching your fists, you can be doing that underneath the table and be appearing normal on the top. That can help use some energy. But other than using, you need to help calm your body down. So the flip side of that is to do something that's going to relax you. So one big tip that I share with clients is a breathing exercise where you breathe in through your nose for 2 counts and out through your mouth for 6 to 8 counts. The longer the better, but don't pass out. So you've got to train your body in this. You might start shorter and go longer. What that's doing is it's getting less oxygen running through your body, because when you're in that stressed mode, it's almost like you're drowning, and you keep breathing and you keep trying to take in more oxygen, and you want to actually get less out, and it just brings your nervous system down and really calms you down. Now, that's something you can do very easily in the meeting room while you're waiting for your turn to speak, and no one's going to even know you're doing it, or side stage before an industry conference or an event. With that one, though, you have to be doing it leading up to it. So you've got to train your body, because what happens is muscle memory kicks in the moment. And when you start doing that exercise, your body's like, oh, I feel really calm when I'm doing this. Oh, I'm not in danger. I can relax. And you can walk on stage a bit more neutral than you were before.
So that's some really practical tips. And I'm guessing, like, even if your stage is one person, and I'm thinking of the sales rep that's going into that difficult customer, and they're very nervous and I guess agitated before they go in, a lot of that those techniques that you've just described would be really beneficial in terms of calming them down before they meet. So I can see some very practical application there, because not everybody wants to be on the big stage, but
Yes.
our stage could be one person, and that could be the most critical meeting or presentation we've got to do in the day or the week. So
That's
very
exactly
important
right.
with that. I've actually seen a number of athletes do something similar just to help them focus when things are going a bit crazy in their sport as well. And I know you work with a number of those athletes, but the stage presenting is a very different environment, which we're not
Yes.
comfortable with. So how do you take that message and move it into that stage environment? Like I think traditionally what we would do is, if we've got to prepare a presentation, we'll do the PowerPoints and we'll stand there looking down at them and
Yes.
and reading off our notes. But that's not really engaging. I'm sure we've all been to presentations where the speaker has done that. How do we change so that we are that engaging person that people want to listen to, that nobody's walking out the door going, oh, I feel sorry for that guy?
Yes, I know, isn't that bad? Look, my very basic number one tip, especially when we're talking about corporate people or business owners, entrepreneurs moving into speaking at industry events, is you are the lead in your message, and any tool you use, I call PowerPoint a tool, is the supporting cast. So it should only be there if it's going to add more impact or enhance your message. It certainly shouldn't be giving it for you with copious amounts of bullet points all over a PowerPoint slide. It's not your prompt. I know that people use it as their prompt, but it should not be your prompt. You know your stuff. You're an expert in the thing that it is that you're talking about. So share that genuinely with your audience, and I promise you that you are so much more interesting than your PowerPoint slides. So one of the things that I do when I work with clients is strip that right back. And yes, we still do use PowerPoint sometimes, and sometimes we don't. It's a choice. So it depends on the circumstances and what you're trying to achieve. But absolutely, it's there strategically to help enhance their message and for no other reason at all. So that would be number one. And look, if you want to be one of the best speakers, like, I work, as you said, with elite athletes or people in that realm. So for instance, I'm working with a rugby coach from South Africa at the moment, who also speaks to businesses about cohesive teams, high performance teams. And we're really elevating him to take him to other countries in the world stage at the moment. So what we're doing is we're basically taking traditional keynote speaking and blending strategically placed elements of theatrical magic to make him unforgettable. So it's not just information sharing, it's not just education, it's not just adding a couple of stories in replacement of PowerPoint. It's creating an immersive experience that the audience can't forget, so that afterwards they're, telling all their friends about it, and they're, wanting to read his book and sign up to his online learning, all the things that can help them moving forward based on what they've just seen on that stage. So it's a huge marketing exercise. If we're talking, about small businesses, I obviously run a small business to myself now. I was in large business in corporate, but when you're running it yourself, marketing is huge, and some of that is word of mouth. But how powerful is it when you can get up on a stage and spend 45 minutes of your time sharing your expertise and your messages with your ideal audience to generate crazy amounts of really high quality leads? One of my colleagues that I do some work with, and is one of I call it my business friends, she had the opportunity at a conference recently where she was just an attendee, but they were hearing about some of the things she was doing, and they wanted 5 audience members to do a 5-minute talk on stage on the second day. So she got invited to do that, and even though she felt quite nervous about doing it, she took the opportunity. She's got 17 high-quality sales calls booked in off the back of that, and that was like, she had one night to prepare, but it was impromptu, basically. It was not something she'd set out to do. How incredible is that outcome?
Oh, wow. Look, anybody listening to this would probably be drooling at the moment to think, hey, if I could have one conversation and come away with 17 high quality leads, then
Yes.
that's an amazing experience. And, you know, it's just, it seems that we put so many barriers in place preventing us from doing this.
Mm.
You know, whether it's the case of we've been labeled as the shy person or we've had a bad experience in the past, but it is possible. I've seen some people transform completely from a very non-confident, quietly spoken person, but somebody who can actually go and present. And the impression that they've left the audience with has been amazing because they've been confident in the message that they've had. They haven't relied on the slides. They haven't relied
Yes.
on gimmicks. They've just
Yeah.
presented honestly.
Mm. I remember there was a man I worked with a little while ago who was invited to speak at an Amazon non-for-profit conference in Seattle in America. He was Australian in Melbourne. And he was pretty confident in the office, like he was the chief information officer. He presented in what we'd call normal business scenarios. But this was on a big stage in front of 1,000 people. It was the Amazon brand. It was pretty big. So we worked together very intensively for about 8 weeks because we didn't have a lot of time together. And he did exactly what you just said. He transformed on that stage and he created a performance. Now, when I say performance, I just want to make sure that your listeners understand. I don't mean that we didn't turn him into a performing monkey or anything like that. It was authentically him up there, but it was the best version of him for the circumstance that he was in. And he was pumped when he got off the stage. He sent me an email, I reckon, almost straight away. He's like, oh, my goodness, Carmen, hundreds of people have come up and asked me all about, what I spoke about and specifically repeating back to him certain things and asking really insightful questions about how they could integrate what he was talking about technology. And it was a men's health organisation he worked for that helped men with prostate cancer. And so they were asking these amazing questions. And there was this man in the foyer also doing a podcast, and he invited him onto the podcast impromptu as well. So he was just so happy with how he got to spread his message and the impact he'd had in that room with the audience on the day.
Oh, that's an amazing story. Look, I think there will probably be people listening to this going, yeah, that's great, but how can that work with me? And look, I think the best way to find out how it's going to work with you is to actually get in touch with Carmen at Illuminated Story. Now, Carmen, how do listeners engage with you to basically go from those fearful presentations to performances that engage?
Yes, they can feel free to email me. I'm happy to give my email address. It's simply carmen@illuminatedstory.com.au. You can go to my website, which is illuminatedstory.com. There is a free masterclass on there that you might like to watch, and there's an application form as well if you're wanting to have a chat about how we might be able to work together and elevate your message out to the world. Very happy to have a conversation.
That sounds great. I'm actually champing at the bit here because I'm just thinking about a panel that I'm participating in the next couple of weeks, and thinking I could easily do with some pointers there because I've looked at the lineup and I'm thinking I'm the poor relative on the lineup, but maybe I need to change my approach and think, hey, I've got this. I know my content. I've got something to share. Let's make it engaging and happen.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great mindset, Paul. I love that.
Well, thanks. So, Carmen, look, if we were to leave people today with one thing that you want them to take away, what would that be?
It would be that your message is important. And if you don't take the chance to be up there and illuminate that message out to others, then it's going to stay hidden and it's not going to be helpful if it stays hidden. So be brave, take the steps. This is a skill set that you can learn. It's not something you're born with. So learn that skill set and share your amazing expertise with others.
Well, what a great way to finish. Carmen, thank you very much for joining us on the Business Behind Your Business podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Paul.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Business Behind Your Business. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and valuable for your business journey. Before we go, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favourite platform. Share it with fellow business owners who could benefit, and send in your burning questions because we love hearing from you. Missed any of our previous episodes or looking for additional resources to help grow your business? Head over to our website at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. There you'll find our full archive of past episodes along with show notes, transcripts, and links to valuable resources mentioned in each episode. Your journey to business success continues at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and keep building the business of your dreams.